Back to the daily grind. Thanks for checking out the channel. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
Back to betting on the fights with fake money, where we go to casinos with fake money and we I'm just fucking around. What we do here, if you're new, this is episode 17, I believe. I started off with $500 that I didn't actually have, so I just wrote it down on a piece of paper, and we essentially pretended like we had 500 motherfucking dollars to start with our bankroll. And we go to the website, you know, whatever site where you can get MMA odds, and we use the odds converter calculator, and we keep up with the bankroll here. Now, we started off with $500, and as you can see, we have doubled up. We are over $1,000 as of last week. You know, we went 4 for 4 on our UFC 219 prediction, so that's always helps. So now we are going to be betting again. Last week we actually bet on the Jeremy Stephens Doo Ho Choi UFC St. Louis card. We know the co-main event Uriah Hall vs. Vitor Belfort fell off of the card, but we didn't have any money placed there. So we're just going to talk about the fights we had money on. Now that was Paige Van Zandt versus Jessica Clark. I bet $84.94 fake dollars on Paige Van Zandt. I thought she was going to be able to come in and get the job done and make her claim on the women's flyweight division. Unfortunately, she broke her arm in the second round, and I called shenanigans on it when she said she broke her arm in the first round, and it turns out that was actually true. She didn't break her arm in the first round. She broke it in the second round, so therefore she went on to still finish out the fight, but she lost via unanimous decision. And then we also bet $150 on Jeremy Stephens, who was in the main event and was a underdog fighting the Korean Superboy Doo Ho Choi. Now, if you didn't see the results of the fight, I'll just tell you now. Paige Van Zandt lost, so we didn't win any money back there. But the underdog, Jeremy Stephens, did win. So since we bet the most money there, we actually definitely profited this week. But we started off this week with $1,084. I ended up betting $234, $150 on Jeremy Stephens, and $84 on Paige Van Zandt just to even it out. I had the 94 cents on there. So no matter what, even if we would have lost both of these bets, we would have still had $850 with for UFC 220, which is this week. So now we've those are the bets we placed. Now this is the results right here. Alright, we won $375 on Jeremy Stephens, who beat Doo Ho Choi. And as you can see, we didn't win anything on Paige Van Zandt because we lost that bet. So, but since we only bet, what was it, $234, and we actually made $375. So yeah, we bet $234 and we made $375. So we ended up coming out on top. We made about a little over $100 added to our total bankroll, which leaves us now with $1,225. Moving on up. Hey, we fucking started at 500. I'm telling y'all, it's gonna be crazy if we get this joint to like $5,000 and we started off with 500 or something crazy like that. I'm moving to Vegas if it happens. I'm telling you, nigga. And that's why this is good, because if you bust out, oh well, you didn't lose any money. But if you fuck around and turn 500 into 5,000, you might need to think about moving to Vegas or somewhere you can bet on these flights and doing your thug dizzle. Because I know if I turn this 500 into something fake or not, you get what I'm saying. Now, we didn't bet on Usman versus Mek, so we've got $1,225 to bet with at this weekend's fights. UFC 220, Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ngannou. Now, here are where we are placing our bets for this week. Boom. Damn, you see all that money? We're coming in hot to UFC 220. This fight's going to be January 20th. It's on the same night as Bellator 192, which is Chael Sonnen versus Rampage Jackson. Excuse me. So, now there's a lot of fights on this card. I did my predictions. You see the predictions. And I'm going to go ahead and bet a lot of money. I mean, we started off with $1,225. I'm betting a total of $525 this week, which means even if we lose every single bet, which let's be honest, that's not going to happen. Even if we did lose every single bet this week, we would still go down to $700, which is pretty good considering we started off at 500. Now, I'm betting $100 on Brandon Davis, I believe is his name, to win this fight. Yeah, Brandon Davis is fighting Kyle Bochniak. I picked Brandon Davis to win, and he's actually, one second, let me hit this pause button, answer this phone. All right, I'm back. So, $100 on Brandon Davis to win his fight versus Kyle Bochniak. Brandon Davis is just a slight favorite. It's essentially a pick 'em though. Whatever you bet, like we'll win 80 bucks back on this if we win the fight. So since I picked him to win the fight and he's not a huge favorite, I'm gonna go ahead and put some money there. Thomas Almeida versus Rob Font, essentially the same thing. I'm betting $100 there. I picked Thomas Almeida to win the fight, and he's just a slight underdog. So if I'm picking a guy to win, I usually don't like betting on heavy favorites. And when I said he's a slight underdog, Thomas Almeida is actually a slight favorite. I don't like betting on favorites unless they're just a slight favorite, and that's the case here. They're both only minus 120, so I'll bet 100 bucks on both of these guys, Thomas Almeida and Brandon Davis. Now, Philip Barroso, or Francimar Barroso, I just like saying his name, so I picked him to win this fight. It's going to be a tough fight, but on top of liking saying his name, and this is probably not the best place to put my bet, but that's not the only reason I picked him to win the fight. I do like saying his name, Barroso. I don't even know that type. Barroso. That shit is fun, and that shit is fucking Barroso. So I picked him to win the fight, and he's actually an underdog. So the fact that he's an underdog and I picked him to win, that usually combines for me betting a little more than my average bet. So I'm betting $150 on Mr. Barroso. Next, we're going to Shane Burgos versus Mr. Calvin Kattar. In this fight, I picked Shane Burgos to win, and he's also he's a favorite. He's a little heavier favorite than the rest of the fights. So I'm betting a little less money on this fight, but I still picked him to win. So $75 on Shane Burgos. Now, of course, the main event of the evening. I'm picking Daniel Cormier to win, and he's a pretty big favorite. So unless you want to bet $300 to win 100 on Daniel Cormier, I'm not betting money on that fight. So I'm picking Stipe Miocic to win. He's the champion and he's the underdog. Anytime you've got a champion that's an underdog, that's always a fucking live bet. So putting $100 there. Of course, Francis Ngannou can come in here and flatline Stipe, but Stipe could also just come in here and, you know, just shut Francis and, you know, derail Francis Ngannou's hype train. That's a very realistic possibility of this fight, a very realistic outcome, because if Stipe beats Francis, then I think a lot of Francis's steam is going to be out of his sails, as he'll still be a vicious heavyweight that people are going to love to see. But if you lose to Stipe, unless you get an immediate rematch, then I think Francis Ngannou is going to lose a little bit of his momentum. So with that being said, $525 on UFC 220. I would have bet on the Bellator fights here, but the only odds that are out for Bellator so far are Chael Sonnen versus Rampage Jackson. And I'm not really putting money on that fight. I mean, I don't know how that fight's going to go. Both of these dudes are 40. It's over at Bellator. We saw how Chael Sonnen versus Tito went. I don't know what the fuck happened in that fight still. So I'm not betting money on that fight, but it is what it is. $525 on the UFC 220 pay-per-view main card. Let the full-time family know what you think about this in the comments. And if we win all of these bets, yo, we could for sure be looking at over $1,500. That would be crazy. But with that being said, it is what it is. I'm out.
Da 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 da. It's the motherfucking DOWG.